Welcome to Carolina Sculpture Studio. My name's Clint Button and I'm a granite sculptor. Welcome to video number 175 of the Virtual Stone Carving Apprenticeship. Alright, it's time to take this apart. So, I'm not going to make y'all watch me do everything. I'm getting every one of these out, but just starting on pulling these out. And you have to pull these out and clean the threads. You know, if you're doing a model where it's feasible to drill the holes afterwards, that's great, you know, to do on the mother. But this one doesn't really work that way. And so it's just the way it is. So I got to take these off, and they have to have just a little bit of plaster in the very end of the threads, even though they've been clean. So I just take one of my wing nuts and I'll run it on. And I got to do this 40 times, so I'm not going to bore you. I'll be back in a bit when I've got them all off, and I'm just going to work on pulling them off. The tape, for the most part, works really good. The Vaseline works really good. And, you know, you can make them a lot longer. It's just a matter of spending the money. Because this is all about what it costs to do it. And what you want to spend your profit on. So, but I'm looking forward to casting this. So, I'll keep doing this until I'm sick of it. And I'll come back when it's ready to start taking these different pieces of the mother off. The mother will have to come off in order. I've got this one is probably the most easily released, and I'll take this one off, then I'll take this one off, and that'll pretty much leave this to come right straight off. And I'll probably try to lift the bottom ones off, because the one on the front's the most important. It's got to be really right. So by the time I get there, I'll know. And if I happen to have a big catastrophic failure, just put some more plaster on, you know, redo the mother where it failed. Hopefully before the rubber is disturbed and lifted off the clay. So, because once that happens, you can't really redo the mother. You can, but these work best if you work back and forth a little bit to get them started. And if you've got a fairly clean end, putting a wing nut on the end of it makes pulling a lot easier. So I'll keep fussing with this, and when I'm about sick of it, I'll be back. All right, see you in a bit. All right, through the magic of video, they're all out. And it's late afternoon, so we've got all kinds of ambient light coming in that's making this thing go crazy on the camera. But I think I'll be able to show. So, trying to run a nut over the whole thing, each one of them, to make sure they're cleaned up, get the plaster out of the threads. The Vaseline on really helps. And they've got a really nice fit. So a lot of the registry you're going to get with these going together, you know, as long as these holes line up and they don't blow them out, jamming the bolts back through, they should be just fine. Now we got to figure out where we can work on this to get it loosened up. And it's better to work back here where it's more safe. Let's see if we can get into a good spot. Yeah, see, that's loosening right up very well. This side, okay, well this one looks like it's going to come out first. So we'll just go on here very carefully. And remember, pay attention to how you got it made, because if I pry this off and I put a lot of pressure here, I'll break that off. I want to do this and lift it off. Look at that. See that? That's perfect. We've got a real nice coat, and this is still good. So if the mother fails, we're still golden right here. Now let's try this one. See if this one will come loose the same way. Yep. Remember, this stuff's rugged, but you can still drop it. All right, here we go. I'll I'll get video of this, you know, before we put it away. I can't show you in the camera now because the camera will just blow it up. It'll be bright white, and that won't work. Let's see if this one will come. Oh, it's wanting to. You got to make sure all of your joints are cut. Because it'll key and lock and hold, and you'll fight it and it'll break. And if it doesn't let go, you may want to take and do another portion first. Okay? And if you're doing this with regular plaster, you may find, and see, it'll start to loosen up. If you're doing this in regular plaster, how you reinforce it's really important, because you will break it. You will break the mother trying to get it off. And it's just nice to have this hydrocal. It's just so strong because it's got great integrity. See, I'm having some loss on the flange right there. That came off pretty well. Had a little loss there, not at the end of the day. See, I've already got a space ready for it, okay? I'm not pulling this off and then saying, oh no, where do I put it? Try to have a work area ready to go. So you got a place to put your pieces. It'll loosen it up because you'll work it a little bit and it'll just give. And honestly, I think I'm ready to pull the front off because I think it'll free up. Got a little bit of plaster somewhere that's still holding. And what you'll find is, there it's loosened up there. Go over here, loosened up here. And it'll never fit back quite as tight when you bolt it back together. It'll be really close. be careful with this because it'll let go quick and you'll throw it. Look at that. Anytime you doubt the process and how long it takes to do this work and how tedious it is to do this work, once you get to a point like this, when it's doing what it's supposed to do, you won't have any doubts about the process. Because you'll understand that the effort was worth it. And you'll find that the last one, because you don't have anything to pull or pry against, can be quite a challenge. But if you go careful, it should come right out. And now you can unmold the rubber. And you can watch and see where it's tied up or it's going to tear. Because you may have to go back in and trim it. With a knife. Because where the paper was supposed to keep it from joining, it may not. And you may also have areas that are thinner than you thought. So you may have to address that. You don't want to just pull it and have it tear and fail. But study it real well. I've just got an old butcher knife, an old kitchen knife. It's not bad. It's just enough to make it hang up a little bit. There we go. We've got this piece here. This piece here. And this paper, you know, that's on here, this oil paper, it probably will come off. The majority of it will come off. Okay, and that's fine. And now it's warm weather. Okay, remember we had to take this inside because it was falling apart. And so it's probably going to want to fall apart. So once this comes off, I'm going to take it into the air conditioner. It looks like we got a really nice joint in all these joints. This pulled apart a little bit here on the bottom. That's no big deal. See that? Now, we shouldn't have any draft issues because it's all undercut, but what we're going to do is we're going to work it off around the whole project at once to make sure that nothing's hung up. And this is because we did a little bit thicker. This is stiffer than all of these, okay, because we didn't want a failure here. But if you just yank it, you're apt to bugger up the clay. And that's not great. So, work it off carefully. Everything seems to be coming pretty good. Support it well. You can turn it inside out like a sock. If you don't have to, I don't. All right, really cool, babe. We still got our clay. All right, I want to police this just a little bit, but I'm going to take her and put her back in the cool so she's out of the hot weather. Because we're supposed to be back up into the, upper 90s and whatever very soon. And I really like to keep my clay until I'm done. So when I have some totally unseen disaster, but I've still got my clay, I can do it all over again if I have to. And, in theory, you don't have to do that. You never do. In theory, everything works great. You do a waste mold and everything's perfect, and because you're so smart, and, we had a tornado go by a couple years ago. We buggered the pecan tree right here beside the studio, so it was all leaning on the side to cut it down. Okay, so close, and then a limb came down on the roof. It didn't break through, but it did. Tree just down, another 100 yards down the hill. It twisted the tops off a couple trees. You don't know when that's going to happen. So if I've got clay that I can use in case there's a disaster, I'm going to use it. All right. So, all right. Going to put her up in the cool weather, and we've got a little bit of, there's some dam here where I dammed it, along the paper. No big deal. When we cast it, we'll just clean that off and finish all those lines, and they'll all be wrapped up, and they'll be just fine. Okay. And if there's anything that I don't like about her, I can always deal with it. I can, because the idea is that this is an excellent blueprint, but this isn't carving stone yet. This isn't absolute. If there's something I need to tweak on it when I do the job, I will. And that's one of the things that I like so much about doing clay, and then doing, after I do the clay, I like to do the plaster, because then I like to see what needs to be tweaked. And if there's something that I don't like, I can fix it. And the process of, to see her lip is just a little bit uneven right there. Where I haven't looked at it in, a period of time, it's really easy to see it. And I can amend the corner of her mouth just a tiny bit, put just a little better tissue structure there. Okay? Then I can use this to deal with amending the plaster the way I want, or just do it in the stone when I point it, because I'll know what I like and what I don't. But to me, the transition from this gray, you know, you draw, figure it out, then you do it in this matte gray green, whatever clay that almost has a sheen to it. And then you cast in the plaster that's white and flat and matte, and then you turn it around, carve it stone, and you see all these different states of the same thing. And you will pick up on all these little variations because of how the light handles it differently, how it handles light differently because it's clay, or it's plaster, or it's stone. But by the time you get to the stone, you had so much time learning that model. You're golden, babe. And like, her hair's a little big, okay, that's because the armature's right here, okay? There's things like that, you know, I don't worry about, because there's a piece of wood right there, or it was there because that's where the pipe went through, and it was right here pushing her head out. We'll end up taking this hair down to smooth it up so her brains aren't too big, and she'll look more feminine. She won't look like Pinky in the Brain or something, okay? So, this is awesome. All right, come on. Take her up the hill, put her in the air conditioning, and she can patiently wait there while we work on the plaster, okay? That's a good deal. All right? I like it when things work. I don't have some big disaster on camera, like I don't know what I'm doing. All right. I have room to set stuff, but this isn't the way that it should be left. You can see I've got all the different pieces, and I got, you know, the rubber and the plaster and everything. The light's calmed down now a little bit, so I'm going to try to set the camera up and show y'all about reassembling this, at least partially, because it's and I'll get into that in just a second. So check this out. Okay, once you get all of your plaster, your mother removed, this came out pretty well. The clay's pretty clean. We'll have to clean up some of it, but for the most part, it's pretty good. But we've put a lot of work into this model, into this mother, into this rubber, and if we leave them all cockeyed crooked, they're apt to take on some shape that we don't want. And so it's better to let them rest in their respective mother segment, versus just having them flopped on your crooked and hoping that everything goes well. And so we'll just sort of put the puzzle back together here. And this is a good chance to check your fit. And they should lay down and they're really tight. You may have some debris that falls into these keyholes. So if so, you guys get it out. You see, once you put that in there, you can feel around, you feel it, to feel if it's loose or hollow. And then we should be able to turn this and see it stays, except for the flange on the end. We turn that over, it doesn't come out. Because that's what we want. That's really important, because this is going to have to go together and be supported while it's assembled, so that we don't have a big collapse. And sags in terms of the plaster where it meets the mother. And so the thing is, don't see This is when all the little crumbles start to become your enemy, because they will get into the mother, into these little crevices or holes or whatever. And when they do, they will interfere with the fit. And if you do this when it's really green, sometimes they'll actually, you know, bond to it. It's not critical that we get all the paper off, and I'm really not going to worry about that a lot right now. If it's loose, just pull it off. Mainly it's just a messy, nasty drag to deal with. So, and you can, it's your studio, okay? Depending on what you're doing, you know, I don't mind plaster on the floor, but I don't put trash on my floor. This isn't a trash can, and I want to have clean trash when I throw it out. If we've got stone we're trying to get rid of, you know, to go fill a hole or something like that, it's got to be stone, not paper. You know, maybe plaster's okay, but not paper, not, you know, metal stuff, none of that. It's got to be clean trash. And, you know, if that's too complicated for you, I don't know what to tell you. But this is a good time to start understanding your model and your fit and how everything looks. Keep track of how it went together, came apart, and all that stuff. And it looks like I had a pretty successful, I coated all the foam really well. Didn't have any foam that was a big failure. Now with your important part, you know, with her face here, see, there's a big chunk right there, and you'll have you should be able to touch it, and if it's not completely, if it's got any movement, that means it's not fully seated. And you want it to be just as tight and as flat as you possibly can get it. And, well, I suppose if you wanted to, see, that's got some, what will happen is your keys, your foam blocks will fold, and it'll make a different fit, and so it'll keep it from settling. See, I fixed that foam, and now it's solid. But what I'll do is I'll let this sit like this. I've got to police them. I'll go around and I'll try to get, you know, I'll take some clay tools and we'll go around and we'll get all the chunks of clay, both to salvage it and to clean the mold. And I'll pull off a lot of this paper because I don't need it. It's easier to get it off here than to pull it out of the positive, out of the vestment. we're going to cast. And when we reassemble it, a bunch of these perforations where I've made the hole has still got little tags in them, so they need to be cleaned. So we've got to go through, but I wanted to make sure this fit, and what I'll end up doing is we'll get as much of the clay out as I possibly can and go around, and it's nice to get these big ones. These will also help you understand whether there could be potential failures or problems. And I really don't care about stuff around on the back of your head and neck and the cape and all that. This is my concern, the front, with her hand. That's beyond that. If that comes out great, the rest of it I can deal with really, and people will never know the difference if I have to bend something or move something like that. So, but I'll go around and I'll clean this whole thing really well, and I'll probably, usually what I do is I'll take my, take a brush, and we'll soap it all up and scrub it and clean it and make it great. Now you may have areas around, like the top of her head here, it's loose. But remember, these pins are going to go through, these bolts are going to go through and hold that in place. So that will be held up. I hope you noticed when I was dealing with the flanges, I don't know if I can find the video where I did it before I put this on, whatever. If you go back and look, those flanges look like they were really, really big. And the bolt holes, with the glue tape on, look like they were way out. And there's no extra. When you put this together, those are right on the money. And so it's important that you leave yourself enough room to work, because the more you do it, the more you'll understand. But the first couple ones you do, you'll think you're leaving lots of room. You'll find out you didn't leave any room at all, and now you got a problem with, using rubber bands made out of old inner tubes and stuff to hold it all together. So those aren't a bad idea. They work great, but you can get shifted and have issues with them, depending on how you're going to cast it. And I've got a way to do, the old way of doing these models, when you do a full round, something like this, is you put it all together. And I should just mention, you may have pieces that break off. Unless it's really big, don't worry about trying to put it back, because you won't be able to. One of the only things I found that you can really glue, it doesn't even really work on hydrocal that well. It works pretty well on dental stone. The only thing you can really glue it with is like liquid nails masonry adhesive. Everything else is so strong that when it dries and sizes, it'll just pull and it'll fracture the surface. The masonry stuff works okay. The danger with that is if you get it on anything else or on between the two of them, it'll glue them together and you'll be able to get them apart. But if you had a big catastrophic failure, that's an option. And the only reason I'd do that would be if I had already pulled the rubber off the clay and I couldn't do a new mother. Because I might be able to put the clay back on, the rubber back on the clay, but you usually don't get a very good result. And to start all the way over, that's why you do a reusable model. But it's a risk. But I've tumbled stuff around, on a big sheet of plywood or on the floor, or tried doing it on my crane, and I got some other stuff that I think works better. It's less chaos, and I'm old and fat, and I don't feel like crawling around on the floor, and so I've gone in a different direction. So, but we'll get into that. This video is probably long enough. We'll get into that after we clean. I got to clean this tomorrow and reassemble it. And I don't know if I'll have time to clean and reassemble, get everything just right, and then cast it as well, but we may. But I'll show you what we're going to use and how I'm going to approach this. And it may be an option for y'all. You'll see why I want to keep it 24 inches or less. Okay. My name's Clint Button. I'm a granite sculptor here at Carolina Sculpture Studio with the Virtual Stone Carving Apprenticeship. Thanks for coming in.